So it was a perfect seller to buy from. And when we bought those properties and I started going with him to the office, I decided to manage myself, though at that time I was managing one laundromat and a gas station. But I decided to manage myself to learn the business. So I started going to office with him. After 10 days, I realized that he was old school. He was doing everything with pen and pencil. He was spending a lot more time there that I didn't have that much time. So after 10 days, I did let him go.
Welcome to Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette, Talie, where we focus on the deals. Our guests are real estate closers who will share in detail the whole process from finding a deal to closing it, as well as strategies and tips to help you do the same. Here is your host, Anette, Talie.
Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Deal Closers. I am your host, Anette, Talie, and my guest today is KK Singh. Welcome, KK.
Hello, Anette. How are you today?
I am super excited to have you here on the show. Your resume is impressive. So I just want people to learn a little bit about you and learn from you and, all that you have done in real estate. So let me tell you guys a little bit about KK. He's a Microsoft certified system engineer turned a successful entrepreneur and multi-business owner, owning multiple gas stations and convenience stores, a laundromat, an event center, 40 single-family homes, and around 2,914 units as a GP and LP. He has syndicated deals in various locations in the U.S. He owns various agricultural, commercial, residential properties in India, and he has 10 years of experience in India, 19 years of business experience in the US, and always seeking expansion opportunities. He is always interested in new investment opportunities, networking, and partnering with like-minded entrepreneurs. And just to give you a little bit on the numbers, because when I was reading your resume, I was super impressed. He owns 8 gas stations, 1 laundromat, an event center, 40 single-family homes, and 2,764 LP. You invested in as a limited partner in 2,764 units across 60 states, and you are a GP, a general partner, in 591 units in Texas, Kentucky, and Georgia. That's amazing. But tell me, how did you get into real estate?
Well, first of all, thank you, Anette, for having me. It's my honor to be on your show. So it was by accident. I got into real estate by accident because I had been in other businesses for about 20 years now. My resume is about a year old, I guess. So I've been in gas station business and I had some other businesses as well. Never thought of being in the real estate, but I was offered a portfolio of 33 single family homes about 20 miles from my home. They were within 5 miles radius, and I was offered by a landlord who was 82 years old, and he wanted to get out of this business, and he's tried to sell those to me, those 33 houses, since I had never done this before. So I asked for 24 hours to think about it. So he said, yeah, go ahead and think about it. And I said, why don't you sell it to someone else? I have never done this. And he said, I sold them twice, but they couldn't get financing. And I know you can get financing, so I want to sell it to you. So amazing. That's how he offered me. And he also offered me to work with me for a whole year and also do the self-financing.
Okay. That's amazing. So for people that don't know, how does seller financing work?
The seller financing means, so I didn't have to put any money down. That was my condition. First, actually, in the end, we ended up going with the bank because once I decided to buy his properties, and his son said, "You're not out of the game yet, since you're doing self financing. So why don't you have them go to the bank and get a loan?" And he reached out to me and he said, "Why don't you go to the bank and get a loan?" I said, "I will." But in return of going to the bank and getting a loan from the bank, which we had a good reputation with the bank, and they financed the whole portfolio, I got one house for free. So I said, "Okay, now you're changing terms, so you have to give me one house for free, and I can go to the bank and get a loan."
All right. So I guess we're going to talk in detail about this a little bit later when we go through the deal, right? But that is awesome. I think, did you know this person before he offered you the portfolio, or it was like a new contact that somebody referred to you?
No, I had known him for the last about 15 years because he's from our community. We went to the same church, and actually he offered me this portfolio at the church.
Oh, amazing. All
Yeah.
right. So that tells me that you shared with people what you did, that you were a business person, and he knew, like he said, like, I know that you can probably get the financing. So
Yeah, he
very
knew me from
important.
15 years.
Yeah, very important to share with people what you do.
The deal.
All right. So let's talk about the deal.
Okay.
So what's the deal that we're going to talk about today? What's the type of asset, A, B, C, D, and what's the location?
So that is a small town about 20 miles from my home. So he had these properties for a long time. He and his sons, they had a lot of properties in that town. Some of them he had sold, and he offered it to his sons, and his sons are like electrical engineer, doctor. They didn't want to get all his portfolio, and because he was managing his all his sons' properties as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
how many units total was he managing?
About 100.
100, and he was already 81.
Yeah, he was already 81. He and his wife were both managing, and they were going to work at 9. They had an office there. They were going to work at 9 in the morning and staying there for a whole day, coming back home 5 or 6 o'clock, waiting for
Wow.
people to come and pay their rents, etc. So his sons, they didn't want to get into this business. They were only in this business. They owned these properties because that mom and dad was in the business, and they were doing the property management. So they declined the offer. So he had to sell those properties. So he offered them to me.
Awesome. And were they in a B class or A class area?
They were C class, older houses. They were almost all of them were rented, and there wasn't much deferred maintenance either because they took care of their houses, and they had owned those houses for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That is the perfect portfolio that you want to find, right? That C-class asset that it doesn't need a lot of the maintenance, that is being kept up. Awesome. All right. So we already know how you found the deal. It was a person that you knew already from church. So let's talk about the price. What was the price that he offered to you, and what was the actual price that you bought it for?
I don't feel comfortable going over the actual numbers.
Okay.
But I can tell you that the price was really good. He gave us a really good deal. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been in real estate. So I couldn't decline the deal because he had already wasted so much time offering that deal to two different people. So he didn't want to waste any more time. He gave me a really good deal. And on top of that, he gave me one house for free. And he offered me a 1 year of training as well.
Amazing.
So
And
that was all over. I would say that was a great deal for me. And the rents were below market because he didn't want his vacant houses. He had no late fees. He would listen to tenant stories, and and he didn't increase their rents for a long time. And there were people for 5 years, even more than 5 years, tenants living in his houses.
Right. So, if he owned the properties for a long time, that meant that he had a lot of equity. Even if his rents were low, he was still making money because he bought the properties for a lot less. But for a new owner, you gotta kind of bring those properties back to market. So how was the transition? Once you took over, you had to probably change a lot of the management style that you had versus what he was doing. You have to change. So walk me a
So,
little bit through that process.
okay, first of all, his houses were paid off. They were totally paid off. So he wasn't after money or anything. So it was a perfect seller to buy from. And when we bought those properties, and I started going with him to the office, I decided to manage myself, though at that time I was managing one laundromat and a gas station. But I decided to manage myself to learn the business. So I started going to office with him. After 10 days, I realized that he was old school. He was doing everything with pen and pencil. He was spending a lot more time there that I didn't have that much time. So after 10 days, I did let him go.
Oh, you fired the owner.
Yep. I said, Uncle, we call him Uncle. I said, Uncle, this is not the way I would manage my houses. I want to use technology, and I don't want to spend that much time. I have other businesses to take care of. So after 10 days, I did let him go, and told him that I'll call you when I need your help, but I'll take care of it myself.
Awesome.
So
And that's very important, right? Because you still had him to ask all kinds of questions, but now you could implement your own systems.
yes, yes. Since it was all old school and he was doing this for all his life, he didn't even know how to tax at that time. So I said, no, I'm not going to be doing this way, and I'm going to change the ways we do business. And so I moved everything online. So I checked several property management softwares and decided to go with Buildium.com.
Awesome.
And we went with Buildium. I uploaded all my data to Buildium.com, and I did a thorough research of the platform. I learned from their university. They have a university, online university. So I learned it thoroughly. So after about 10 days, I was totally paperless.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I did this for 5 years. I was totally paperless. I was signing leases without paper. I was giving them notices without paper. Everything I was doing paperless.
And how did the tenants react? Because sometimes you have a push, right? Like they don't want to do it. I get all the time when I inherit tenants, oh, I don't have an email. No, I don't do stuff online. And, how did you handle this?
Well, there was only one person. She had been there for 5 years. She was an older lady, a real nice lady. And she is the one said, I can handle that. And all others, I trained them. This program has little videos. I texted them to watch the video, how to pay online, and it was pretty easy.
That's
And
awesome. That's
for
awesome. So you
some of,
trained them, right?
yes, because the platform has videos. So I texted them videos to watch these videos when I signed a lease, or to the other tenants that I took over. I also uh, sent them an email from the system and a letter from the system. So I didn't have to go to the post office, just from the system with the links, so that they can click those and learn that. And it is very, very user friendly. So they could pay their rents with the tax. They could complain if they had a faucet leak or any problems. They could do it through the system on their portal. So I created their portal, sent them an email link. For some of my tenants, I created their emails. so that they
Uh-huh.
can emails. I gave them a password. Okay, this is where you can go to the portal and look. And it is so user friendly that they could do everything from the phone. And a lot of my tenants didn't have computer; they had a phone only, so they could do everything. It was little uh, time consuming upfront, but it was a lot easy rest of the time. And with my new tenants, I always had them, okay, you have to have an email for both of you, and you have to have a portal. And that's how they signed up. That's how I did the screening. And it was all online screening. They had to answer some questions, and Smart Move would send me those reports with the whether I accept or reject their applications. So they were sending me applications online. Everything was online.
Excellent. Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that's the little bit of the trade-off when you are implementing new systems. It's always going to take you a long time at the beginning, but you are going to save so much time on the back end that it's worth doing it and spending that time at the beginning. And I like what you said, like you train your tenants. And I think that's so important when you're taking new tenants, and not only for the technology. You are training them to react the way you want them to react. Like, you need an email, you need to create an email, or you need to pay on time. Otherwise, you're going to get a late fee. And I think it's a little bit of a training process for the tenants, because they are used to doing it in a different way. They were probably used to paying late with no fees, and now you were implementing late fees and your systems. So it there was probably like a transition time for all this to start working properly the way you were envisioning it.
Yes, and I since I am computer savvy, so I had some things on my side as well. So if they would forget the website address, so they would ask me or call me or text me. So I had created shortcuts on my iCloud, on my phone or computer, wherever. So I use all those shortcuts so that I don't have to type the whole thing. So if they needed a website, I would just type 3 words and send them a text. If they need anything else, I have a lot of shortcuts that I can remember only 3 words. If somebody needs my email or somebody needs to go do an application, so I would type only 3 words and it would send a text.
I love it. I do that, and I am surprised how many people don't know how to do that. Like and I do that for my property management as well. For everything that I need to send people, I have a 3-letter shortcut, and I just type t t t, and the whole thing goes out. It's
Yep.
amazing. So
I
if you
do.
haven't done that, research shortcuts on your phone.
Yeah, I have had them. I've been using them for a long time, but I implemented this for my property management as well. And also, one thing I noticed here, I go to a lot of meetings now, virtual events, but live events also. A lot of people, I mean, this is a technology world now. A lot of people don't have the like a e-business card. Nobody wants to keep gathering business card. People are asking for a business card. So I have a business online business card. And even at this virtual money raising summit, I sent a lot of people my business card. And I have created a shortcut for that too.
Mm-hmm.
MMBC. So I just typed and put it in the chat, and it has my phone, fax, email, and WhatsApp number, our website, everything on that e-business card. It's so easy to exchange. All you need to print my business card and text.
Absolutely. So when you are in a right now with COVID, everything is online, but when you are person to person, you can also transfer that card to the other person, right?
Yeah, yeah. You can text it. You can WhatsApp, send it through an email. There are several ways to communicate that. Send it, and so we don't have. I'm a great user of paper. I don't like to waste paper. For even my notes, etc. I use these papers. If I have to get a quick note, so I use the back side of these.
Oh my goodness. We
So
are
I try to
similar.
save. Yeah, I'm kind of a everything online person, paperless. So I don't like to use papers. So when you can use the technology. I mean, at our event hall, my sales staff, they had these yellow slips everywhere on the walls, on the notice board, on their desk. So I said, why do you, I mean, they're young girls, 8, 20, 30 years. I said, why are you using all these? She said, oh, so that we can remember. I said, there is a app in the every computer where you can use, and they're nicely stacked up on your desktop. You can go through them one at a time, and you can delete some, you can add some, and instead of all this mess here, so why don't you go ahead and do it? So I installed that app on all our computers, and they're using now. So I'm a kind of a paperless guy.
Awesome. I love that. All right. So let's go back to the deal. So, walk us a little bit about the funding and the financing, because you started with owner financing, but then you had to get a loan. So tell the audience, how did that work?
Well, first of all, I went to my bank. And a lot of banks have those 10 properties rule.
Mhm.
And my bank had that 10 properties rule. And I didn't want to have 4 different companies to handle. So I decided to go with only one. And I went to 2 other banks and asked for a loan, and they both approved me. So I went ahead and picked up the better deal out of those. And at that time, we didn't know much about these loans either. We had we had loans for our properties on gas station properties and other businesses, but we never had this real estate loans. So and they gave us a choice of 10-year and 15-year. So we chose 10 years because we thought, okay, we can pay them as quickly as possible.
Right. And when you were talking about the 10 maximum rule, you were talking about conventional loans, right? Versus doing a portfolio loan, which you can get all the properties into one loan.
Yeah, it was a commercial portfolio loan. So both banks approved us for a commercial, and they gave us a 10-year option and 15-year option. And I didn't know that at that time, I didn't know that we need to go for a longer term so that we can have more cash flow. But our focus was, okay, we can do a 10-year and we'll pay off these properties as soon as possible. So that was a good experience, but it wasn't too difficult because I'm pretty organized. So I had my tax returns and everything, my financials and everything on Evernote. So I shared with the bank and they downloaded all from there. I just had to send them one email.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. I did see on your bio that you are an expert on Evernote.
Yes, I'm an Evernote consultant.
Awesome.
Though I don't try to make money off it, but I just liked Evernote so much. So I decided to do a certification on that. And I did that, I think, about 10 years ago in 2011, 9 years ago.
Wow. Excellent. All right. So we know so what's the exit strategy for these 40 units?
Well, first of all, we already sold those.
Okay, so that was selling okay. So was that the initial plan of it, or did that come because of
opportunity?
No,
we didn't have an exit plan at all. So we were thinking of keeping those houses for a while, and just instead of me managing those, just because I had learned all that, and just bringing a third party property management to manage those houses instead of me managing. And my purpose was done because I wanted to learn the business. And in the very first year, I realized that this is something that we shouldn't be doing because I realized the benefit of the multifamily. So on the very first year, I started investing in multifamily as a limited partner while I was managing those properties, and also started learning. And I want to add, before I get to the exit, I want to add something. After I bought the landlord's property, so his son came to me after about a year, and he offered me his 7 houses.
Okay.
So he wanted more money, obviously, than his dad, because his dad wanted to get out of anyways. So we offered him some extra more money than the price. And in the meantime, we knew what's going on, and we had executed our business plan. We had raised the rents on. So I knew that that was a profitable to buy his houses. So in the meantime, we started flipping houses in the after the very first year. So we had the team in place and everything. So we started flipping houses. So we flipped about 4 houses and realized that this is not something for us, because we ended up paying. We flipped 4 houses in the very first year, and ended up paying all 50% of our income to the government. So I decided not to do that. Instead, I moved on to multifamily. So I bought 7 properties. Actually, I bought one house at an auction and used that house as collateral to buy his son's 7 houses.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't have to put a penny from our pocket. We just used that house, because the appraisal of that house came about the double the price that we bought at. And
Right.
we bought those 7 houses and used that house as a collateral
Excellent. It's for the down payment.
for the down payment.
Amazing. All
And
right. So that's an awesome strategy where you buy something cheap, fix it up. I don't know if you fix it up or if it was already a good price, but then the profit from that house, you put it into the next property. So you're not spending any money out of pocket.
Yep. We used that house as a collateral, as a down payment to buy his son's 7 houses. So we didn't have to put any money from our pocket other than just buying that house at auction for cash.
Mm-hmm.
And that house was actually recently renovated in really good shape. The only thing we had to do is, because the pipes were burst in the crawl space, so we had to run all the new piping. We
Mm-hmm.
spent about, I think, 2,500, and it doubled the price. The appraisal came double than what we bought it.
Wow.
And we
Impressive.
used that to buy those 7 houses.
And what was the time frame of that?
Uh,
6 months?
time, uh,
Between when you bought it and when you appraised it again?
no, it was about 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. And I rented that house for $760. Um, and actually, I can share that I bought that for 23,000, and you put 2,500 on it. So about $26,000 on that house, and rented for $760.
Wow.
And its appraisal came at 56,000.
Wow. Impressive.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the dream deal, right? You buy it for very cheap and then you can you reappraise it, and you take all your money out and buy the next. All right, so let's get to the exit strategy. So what
Okay.
was the opportunity?
Well, it wasn't a strategy, it was just an opportunity. So there was a 20 unit multifamily in the same market up for auction. And I just thought, okay, I have a business here. Why don't I buy that 20 units? And this was last year, end of last year. So I registered for the auction. It was an auction. So I registered for the auction. I went for the auction, and I decided, okay, I'm going to pay 55 for this, maximum 55 per unit for this property. And there was somebody who was bidding against me, and he bidded me out. I stopped at 55. So actually, we decided at 50, but I went up to 55. So I was bidded out at 55, and he still kept bidding on that property, and somebody else jumped in. So he went all the way to 62,000 on per unit on a 20 unit property, and that was, I think, about 2000 year 2000 built. So it was a nice property, all rented. So when we walked out, I asked him, and he was sitting a little away from me. But when we walked out after the auction, I asked him, "What were you thinking when you were bidding? You're bidding in this town for 62,000." And he said, "My numbers worked." He said, and he had. I didn't know at that time that he owned some properties in that town also, and he was from Michigan. And he said, "My numbers worked." I said, "Up to 62,000." And somebody bought that property at 65,000. So I said, "At 62,000, your numbers worked?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I have got 40 single family houses. Would you be interested in buying those much cheaper than those?" And he said, "Yeah, I can take a look." And I said, "Fine." I gave him my card, my e-card that I talked about. So I just texted him my e-card, and I received an email from him asking for some information. So I sent him, it's a lot easy to send through the Belgium. I sent him what he asked for. He asked for three things: rent roll and financials and a couple of other things. So I sent him the same night, and I received a long list of items from him in the morning. So he asked for so many other things. And I called him in the evening after 5, and I texted him first, and he said, "I'll be available at 5 o'clock." I said, "I want to talk to you." And I called him after 5, and I told him, "This is my price. If you want all that information, that list you send me about 15, 20 items, send me a LOI. I just don't want to waste my time and your time. If you are interested in our properties," I sent him a list of properties as well. "And send me a LOI. This is what I'm going to take least." And see, he sent me a LOI in a couple of days with a 25,000 check as earnest money.
Right.
So I was happy to send him all that information. And I was really excited that, and I got the asking price. I might have sold even cheaper than those, maybe not, because we had no intention of selling those. So, but finally, he did the inspections. He got the appraisals done. He got the loan approved and everything. And in the meantime, COVID came.
Oh no.
Yeah. So COVID started. He got a little nervous, but everything was done. He had walked the properties, and he had done all his due diligence. Bank approved the loan. Everything was done, but in the meantime, he got a little nervous. I thought, okay, now I don't think he's going to close. And since we had sold them, I was excited to close. So, and also we were in the meantime looking for some multifamilies to do a 1031 exchange. So we were
Right.
watching
Yeah.
those properties, and he called me one day and he said, "Can you give me a 30-day extension?" So that struck my mind that he is trying to get out of the deal.
Right.
And we had an agreement in the PSA that all his money is going to be returned. And so I had to return the earnest money to him, which I could. I mean, because that was our agreement, and the money was still in the escrow. I didn't cash it or anything, so it was in the escrow. So I said, "You have loan approved. You have done the inspection. You have done all your due diligence. The company is ready to close, the title company, because title company had the escrow, so they were ready to close. So why don't you close?" He said, "I wanted to take a look." I said, "I'll give you 1 year of insurance free." So I bought him 1 year of insurance free if you close them in 7 days. Because I had talked to the bank, I had talked to the title company, and I knew everything is ready. He's just scared. So I offered him 1 year of insurance, which costed me about $28,000, but he closed in a week.
Amazing. So
So
sometimes you
make
just need to do that little extra bonus, right? To make the
cor-
deal done, to get the deal
correct.
done.
Correct, because I didn't want to, it was asking price. I didn't want to drop that deal. So I had to take some action, offer him a 1 year of insurance for all my houses. So we sold our houses in 5 years, 10x our money. I can give you that number.
Mm-hmm.
We 10x our money in less than 5 years, 1 month less than 5 years.
Wow, amazing. So what did you buy after? What did you do with this money? What type of property did you get?
We bought that property back here.
Amazing.
We could not do a 1031 exchange. The reason we couldn't do a 1031 exchange was I wanted to do something larger property, because since I have been in larger properties, and my son in law, because my daughter was partner with me on those houses, and my nephew was a partner, we looked at some properties, and on one of them we had put a LOI as well, but the owner passed away because of the corona.
Oh no.
It was a 103 unit property here. So we decided to buy that property. We did put a LOI, and we actually got the LOI back with a counter offer. So we sent it again, and in the meantime, the owner passed away, and his wife and son took some time, and in the meantime, we had expired our time limit.
Oh,
So the 45 days limit, we had expired on that. So we decided to do something else, buy some other business. My son and my son-in-law and my nephew already wanted to buy some business instead of putting money in passive investments. So, but I went ahead and invested my money in this property.
amazing. So it was a progression, right? You started with
Yes,
the single families, you learned the business. And I think that that is so important when you're starting a new business, and it could be any kind of business. You were there doing the work, because that way, once you hire property management, you knew exactly what to expect and how to handle things.
correct.
And I
I
think, yes.
I went from by step
Mhm.
rather than jumping to the top. I went by step by step.
And I love that, because you hear sometimes people say just go big, just go big, but I feel that I like to learn before, like I like to learn it before I jump super big. Like I need to know the basics so that I can grow.
Mhm.
And so that's amazing. I love your story.
Productivity hack.
So, we've been talking about, how you have different businesses and how, you went paperless. So I want you to give me your productivity hack. What is that one thing that you have done in your business that has helped you grow your business?
Well, again, comes back to Evernote. I use Evernote, and since I certified as a consultant in Evernote, I've been using Evernote for all my business. It helped me a lot.
So tell me a little bit, because I remember downloading the app Evernote and
Mhm.
thinking that is awesome, but then I never used it. I used it for a little bit. So tell us, what do you do with Evernote? Like, give us a little bit of an explanation on what is it.
Okay, it's a I can spend another 45 about, but it's a to in a nutshell, it's like a cloud space, but you can do a lot more. You can emails into it. You can drop documents into it. You can put reminders, put them in a shortcut, and then you can share information from Evernote to your partners. You can do a chat within. So it's like a lot of other cloud spaces, plus uh, Slack, some kind of productivity that you can use. So it's a combination of a lot of other applications. I use all other technology as well. I use CRM, marketing, emails, Slack, and everything else. But Evernote is my favorite.
Right. So
I
it
use
seems like it's like a Google Drive or a Dropbox, but with a communication component, and you can also email from it.
a lot of things you can do it. You can email from it. You can email into it. You can take a picture. You can scan a paper. It goes. Everything goes keeps going into it. And I use that. I use Google Drive. I use OneDrive. I use Dropbox. But I use this for everything. For my gas station business, for my laundry business, for all my corporations, taxes, everything. So if somebody I need to send my taxes off all my companies. So I have a total of 26 companies.
Amazing.
So I have put them in the Evernote. All I have to do is share the link.
Right. So you create different folders for each of your companies, and then you just basically you are storing everything in that cloud space.
Everything in that you can use tags, you can use folders, you can use tags. So it's awesome. I would say it's
Amazing.
awesome.
Oh, my question was, do you have anything on your actual computer, or did you just only do it online?
No, I do it everything online.
Because
I have
that's one of my fears. Like, I want to go paperless, I want to go online, and I'm starting to set up that system, but I'm always fear, like, what if I don't have internet access? Then I don't have access to anything.
well, you have so many. You have a phone. You have a phone. You can access through the phone. You can access through the iPad. You can access a different computer. So if let's say something goes wrong with my router here, I still have a phone that I can connect to the computer and use my hotspot to pull my files, send emails or whatever.
Right.
I mean,
Because
if everything goes down, who knows then?
right.
Then
Even if you
then
had it in
it's
your computer, you cannot send it out if everything goes down, right? You will have it, but you cannot share it.
correct. Correct.
All
You
right.
won't be you won't be able to access it because it's in the cloud.
Right. All right, that's awesome. I'm gonna look into it again because I remember when I downloaded, and this is like 5 years ago. I put it on my phone, and I thought this is really cool, but I just didn't have a business then, so I didn't really, look any further. All
Actually,
right.
I have done few webinars about Evernote to teach other investors to use
Oh, I'm
Evernote.
gonna look it up for sure. I'm gonna make a note to look up the Evernote webinar. Is it on
Oh no, it's
YouTube?
not. There was no recording.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't record it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hit you up then.
Yeah.
Expert tips.
All right, so let's talk about the 3 expert tips. So tell me, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I already talked about one. I think that is one expert, and another. A lot of people call me about underwriting their deals.
Mm-hmm.
To take a look at the underwriting. I have spent a lot of time underwriting the deals as well, learning how to underwrite, how you can change. I see a lot of underwriting, so I can see okay how they played with the numbers to make a bad deal look good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good at underwriting. I am good at numbers, all kind of numbers. My son always says, "Dad, your math is awesome." So I try to look at those numbers very closely. That's another my expertise. For anything, I have even for my laundromat, I have created an Excel sheet where I can look at the numbers of the per machine, aisles, and all graphs and everything. And I have done advanced Excel as well. So I look at those. I can look at the numbers really good in a visual way.
Awesome. So,
Rather,
so what would you say would be like the 3 main things that you do when you are taking over a business? It could be a gas station, or it could be even the multifamily. Like, what are the 3 main things that you do when you acquire a business?
okay. Again, first of all, about the gas stations, I have been doing this for 20 years. I can look at the dumpster and tell you how much this gas station is worth.
Wow.
Because from the dumpster, you have a pretty good idea how much stuff they are getting.
Wow. So you
How
look at
much
the volume. What's the volume they are selling?
volume. So volume, and when you're at the property, you're looking at the dumpster, you're obviously looking at the building, etc. as well. But there, from the dumpster, I can have an idea how much the sale is of the property, how much the return. So I have that in my mind how to look at those. So same thing I am applying to the multifamily as well. The when you go to the property, you look at some other stuff. So you definitely look at the numbers, etc. upfront before even go to the property. But when you go to the property, you can see, okay, this is, does this neighborhood have that kind of pricing, 80,000 a door? What are the houses look like around the property? What is the area look like? For example, I went to see a property uh, a month ago in Anderson, Indiana. And I went to a gas station and he was busy. I wanted to ask him about the neighborhood, and he was from our community, and he was a little busy. And once he was done, he asked me, "How can I help you?" I said, "Okay, I learned everything what I wanted to ask you because I own several gas stations, so I could figure out in 5 minutes what kind of neighborhood is it." So the only thing I noticed that he even had those syrups that people add to the coffee inside the bulletproof. So that was a good sign for me not to buy property in this neighborhood.
It wasn't a safe property.
I mean, he couldn't trust the people in the neighborhood for just the syrup. How would I trust them to be live on my property? So I
Right.
said, I'm done. I'm not buying this property.
I have a similar rule, but it's obviously different. If I'm looking at a property and I don't feel comfortable bringing my kids with me, because as a mom, sometimes I have them on the back seat. If
Yep.
I don't feel comfortable, that is not a property for me. And
Yep.
that's my rule. And it has worked. As long as I can bring my kids, then it's a good place to invest.
No, that's a good rule too. So I'll always tell people who follow me on my Facebook page or schedule calls with me, I always tell them to invest in themselves before they invest in any real estate. So that means they need to spend time attending these boot camps, webinars, seminars, reading books, listening to podcasts. So there's a lot of material, and this business is all about
Absolutely.
networking with the right people, and learning from them. Sharing your experience helps you don't forget things when you share. So recently, I did 6 months coaching for doctors and nurses. I got done on Thursday was my last class. So that way I share my knowledge with other people and learn from them as well.
Absolutely. And that's how we got to know each other. I mean, I've seen you on Facebook and, in the real estate space for a while, but we were in the same conference and that's how we connected.
Yeah.
And, I have connected with so many people at these conferences that have so much knowledge and they love to share. For the people that are starting, I think real estate investing, the community is very open and very willing to help if you put the work, right? So it is amazing, what you learn and the connections you make on all these conferences. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And also, the beauty of this business is that nobody is your competition. You can partner with them, and
Exactly.
you don't have to do everything yourself. So
Yeah, that's like an amazing point that you're bringing in. You don't have to
yes,
do everything.
you don't have to do everything. So my specialty, I'm on most of the deals I am on. My specialty is raising capital. So and doing asset management. So I sit on weekly calls. I have learned so much, and I have done my asset management on my properties as well. So I have a lot of experience how to handle with the contractors, what things you need to write down and how to get them done and how to pay them and how to have them sign those documents and everything. So I don't find deals. I don't call brokers. I don't source deals. I don't underwrite them initially. I do underwrite them when I want to get on the deal. So basically, I'm getting on the deal when it's already under contract. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to do most of the stuff. So you can do whatever you're good at. So if you're good at sourcing deals, underwriting deals, and bringing them under contract, do that. Have other people raise the money for you. Have other people do the asset management. So the beauty of this industry is that you don't have to do everything, and nobody is your competition. You can bring them as partners.
Absolutely. I love that. All right, KK, this has been amazing. I love your journey and thank you for sharing it with everybody. So tell everybody how they can find you. What's your social media, your website?
They can find me everywhere. I'm the easiest person to find me. They can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. We have about, I think, 5,300 members on that Facebook group, 10X Multifamily Investment Group. I think most of the real estate investors are already there. If you're not, go join that group.
I am.
Yep. I mean, I'm talking to your audience.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yep, they can go join that group. Easiest way to find me, or they can go to my website, growrichcapital.com, fill in contact information, get contact with me. They can go to LinkedIn. I have my cell phone number and my email on my profile. They can reach out to me that way as well. So there are several ways to reach out to me. Yeah, I'm the easiest person to get hold. They can go to my calendar on Calendly and book a call with me, whichever works for them.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much. And if you are liking this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. And, if you're liking the podcast, give us a review on iTunes. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me in it.
This was Real Estate Deal Closers with Anette Talie, brought to you by Talie Investments. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Our goal is to provide amazing value on your real estate journey. Connect online at www.talieinvestments.com, where you can find this episode and more. Did you like this episode? Subscribe, like, and share.